Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating psychology behind why we constantly crave instant rewards, and more importantly, we're going to equip you with evidence-based strategies for long-term success. It's that classic age-old battle, right? Choosing to win later instead of just feeling good right now. Most of us instinctively go for comfort now, entertainment now, or that really easy hit of dopamine right now. But highly successful people, they often choose discipline and skill building in the present so they can secure massive success down the road. So how exactly do they do it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out. Here's our roadmap for today. First, why we choose comfort now. 2, the famous marshmallow test. 3, the dopamine detox myth. 4, meeting your future self. 5, mastering the compound effect. And finally, 6, tips for long-term success. Let's jump in.
Section 1. Why we choose comfort now, or the psychology of impatience. Let's dive right into this and look at why prioritizing our future selves over what we want right this very second feels so incredibly daunting.
Okay, I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine I just handed you $500. Would you rather spend it right now, maybe on a new phone or a quick weekend trip, or would you wait, put it in a savings account, and hold out for a much bigger future reward? If your gut reaction was to spend it immediately, hey, don't feel bad. According to researchers at the St. Louis Fed, we're literally wired by evolution to live in the moment. Historically speaking, taking the sure win that was right in front of us was how we survived as a species. The present is real, it's vivid, we can feel it. The future, well, that's just a big unknown.
That thought experiment perfectly illustrates a couple of things behavioral economists call temporal discounting and present bias. Basically, these are cognitive biases that completely trick our brains into choosing instant, smaller rewards over much larger future ones. It's wild, but the pain of missing out on comfort right now actually outweighs a future benefit we can't see yet. Every dollar you spend today obviously can't be saved for tomorrow. There's a real opportunity cost there. But because the reward of saving isn't realized until years down the line, we usually just cave to instant gratification.
Moving on to Section 2, the famous marshmallow test and the history of delaying gratification. To really grasp the science of discipline, we absolutely have to talk about one of the most famous psychology experiments ever done. You've probably heard of this one, the Stanford marshmallow test. Back in 1970, psychologist Walter Mischel put young kids in a room with a single marshmallow. The deal was, if they could just wait 15 minutes without eating it, they'd get a second one. For decades, this was viewed as the ultimate gold standard for measuring self-control. And by 1990, follow-up studies showed the kids who waited actually had higher SAT scores and better life outcomes. But, science is always evolving. Recent replications in 2018 and 2024 found something pretty interesting. They neutrally revealed that a child's economic background and cultural differences heavily influence these results. A kid's underlying belief that the promised reward will actually show up, which is shaped largely by their home environment, plays a massive role. In fact, the 2024 data suggests the test doesn't reliably predict adult functioning all on its own. So what's the takeaway? Self-control isn't just some magical, innate trait you're born with. It's heavily shaped by your environment and the specific strategies you learn to use.
All right, Section 3, the dopamine detox myth, fake trends versus real science. Fast forward to today, and our modern world is just packed with endless ways to instantly satisfy our needs. With all of us glued to our smartphones, you've almost certainly seen that viral dopamine detox trend. But let's actually look at what the science says about this. There is a stark, undeniable contrast between internet fads and real clinical psychology. The social media version of a dopamine detox basically tells you to completely strip away anything pleasurable from your life, which honestly sounds totally miserable and completely exhausting. Clinical psychologists like Dr. Susan Albers at the Cleveland Clinic quickly point out that this is totally unscientific. Dopamine is not a toxin. We literally need it in our bodies to move, to sleep, and to feel motivated. Depriving yourself of all joy is basically just a crash diet for your brain, and it's going to backfire. What we should actually be leaning into is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Instead of this impossible joyless fast, CBT shows us how to modify just 1 or 2 tricky behaviors, swap out bad habits for healthy ones, and, crucially, learn how to tolerate a little boredom without totally tearing our lives apart.
Which brings us to Section 4, meeting your future self and bridging the empathy gap. If starving our brains of joy doesn't work, how on earth do we actually change our behavior? Well, one of the biggest roadblocks to saving money or putting in the work now is that we really struggle to relate to the person who's going to get the reward later. Researchers at IDOU discovered something absolutely mind-blowing. We actually view our future selves as total strangers. Literally,
fMRI scans show a total disconnect in our brains. When you think about yourself years from now, your brain lights up the exact same way it does when you think about a random person on the street. This is called the empathy gap, and it makes saving money feel like you're literally just giving your hard-earned cash away to somebody else. No wonder we struggle so much to delay gratification.
So we have to fix this disconnect. We need to build genuine empathy for our future selves. IdeaU recommends 2 incredibly effective design thinking exercises you can actually try right now. Step 1 is observation. Seriously, sit down and vividly imagine, even draw out, a specific day in your life 5 years from now. Make it super concrete. Where are you living? What are you doing? Step 2 is interviewing. Grab a friend and actually role play as your future self. Answer questions about the tough challenges you had to overcome to get where you are. By doing this visualization, you start bridging that empathy gap. Suddenly, the person you're sacrificing for today feels real and absolutely worth the effort.
Okay, Section 5, Mastering the Compound Effect. Small choices, big results. So we know the why, and we've built some empathy for our future selves. Now we need the how, a functional mechanism to actually get us there.
This concept perfectly captures the core of Darren Hardy's compound effect. The absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that long-term success isn't about drastic overnight overhauls. You do not need to flip your entire life upside down by tomorrow morning. The real magic happens through incremental changes. It's the steady, day-by-day accumulation of tiny, seemingly insignificant choices that ultimately yield massive, life-changing results.
Let's break down exactly how to master this. It all starts with making small, smart choices daily. We're talking about choosing to read just 10 pages instead of doom scrolling, or drinking water instead of a soda. Next, you have to track your progress because awareness is everything. You're trying to form positive habits that tie directly back to those big long-term goals. And here is the really tough part. You have to push past the point where you want to give up. The beginning is always the hardest. But if you can just push through that friction, momentum eventually takes over. Finally, surround yourself with supportive influences. Your environment dictates your choices way more than you probably realize. But if you stay consistent with this, your discipline compounds over the years, and your patience creates a massive advantage.
And finally, Section 6, Tips for Long-Term Success and Overcoming Instant Gratification. We've covered so much ground today, from brain scans to marshmallows. Let's wrap up with some highly actionable, evidence-based strategies to help you handle those daily moments of temptation.
When you get hit with that craving for an instant reward, clinical experts suggest a simple 3-step technique. First, bring awareness to the urge. Step off autopilot and just notice the craving for what it is. Second, delay your action for 15 to 20 minutes. Psychologists call this surfing the urge. Cravings almost always peak and then naturally drop off within that short window. So go for a walk or literally just sit with it. You're creating a little buffer zone between your thought and your reaction. And third, actively embrace the discomfort. It is not going to be easy, but learning to tolerate a little boredom and effort is literally the hallmark of a successful mind. Focus on consistency, not just fleeting motivation. And hey, remember to mindfully reward yourself after the hard work is actually done. So, let's leave off with one final thought. And if you only remember one thing from this explainer today, make it this. The next time you are faced with a choice between easy dopamine right now or putting in the work for a bigger reward later, ask yourself this simple question. Will this choice help future me? We know short-term pleasure can totally derail long-term goals, but your future is built entirely from the repeated, small choices you're making today. So the next time temptation comes knocking, what choice are you gonna make?